using a single crochet stitch. Crochet a square using a single crochet stitch. Single crochet stitch. Hi guys, welcome back to Craft with Jared. I'm Jared, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet a square using a single crochet stitch. This is how the square looks. See? So it's very similar to the double crochet, it's just the stitches aren't as long as a double crochet. And then after the single crochet square is done, we're going to get more technical with the squares we do, because then I've shown you the basic stitches for knitting and crocheting, and then we can start combining everything and start making funky patterns and nice different types of patterns with knitting and crocheting. So one of them is called the English rib stitch. So you can see how it almost, it's a combination of your stocking stitch, that's the ribs, and then the garter stitches in between the ribs. Then the next square that is also done with knitting, it's called a moss stitch. So this is a single moss stitch. You can see the type of pattern it leaves. It's almost like little X's. This is a combination of knit and purl, one knit, one purl. The next one is called a double moss stitch. This is one of my favorite stitches to do because it just looks so, I don't know, it looks so pretty and so warm and comfy, especially in this wool that I've done it in. It's so nice. So this is a double knit, double purl, double knit, double purl, but we'll get into that because these squares I'm just showing you are part of this series. So another one of the basic skills people should learn how to do in crocheting is called a granny square. So this is how the granny square is. This is constructed of the double crochet and chaining on, and you just start from the middle and you go out. But one of my favorite squares to do, or my patterns to do with crocheting, it's called a willow square. So you can see how this square looks. This is a combination of double crochets, single crochets, chaining, and treble crochet. So this square, the willow square, is going to be one of the more advanced squares that we'll do much later in the series. The single crochet square, which is the tutorial I'm showing you today, we are going to need our scissors, our darning needle, our measuring tape, your crochet hook. I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook, and then our yarn that we're going to use. So this is a double knit, 100%, it's like a purpley, bluey, lavender type color wool. And to see which size crochet hook you need or knitting needle you need for this wool, you can always look at the back and it gives it to you in millimeters, UK and US size. And the last thing you're going to need is your little drinky drink. I'm having tea. Our first step that we're going to need to do is create a slip knot. So you hold your fingers like this, wrap your wool around, put your thumb in, turn it, and grab. Then after we've created our slip knot, we need to chain on. So we want to chain on 22 plus 2. So we're going to get our crochet hook. We're going to put it into the slip knot. So we're going to insert it on our crochet hook and just tighten it. So we want to chain on 22 plus 2. So whenever you do a single crochet and you're doing a square, you always want to do the length of chain you want plus 2. So we're doing plus 2 with a single crochet because we want to set the height of our row. So our first step we're going to do with chaining on is we need to hold our wool in the correct way. So you can take your hand, you're going to put your pinky like that, so the wool's going to go behind your pinky, in front of your ring and middle finger, and behind your pointy finger. And then with your thumb and your middle finger, you're going to grab the little tail. And then to see if your tension is correct, you're going to just tap on your wool, and it's going to be a little bit springy, not too loose, so you don't want it to be like loose in your finger. So you're going to see, so how loose it is now, it's just busy waving around. And then you can also see on the inside of my hand, the wool is quite loose. That's too loose. And if it's too tight, then you're busy pulling it, and if you tap it, it doesn't move. That's too tight. This tension here is too tight. So what we want is we want just the right tension. So it's not too tight. So if I'm busy tapping it, you're not hearing. So this is the tension we want. If you see, when I tap it, do you see how it is going down, but it's springing back up? So that's the right tension. It's not making the noise when I tap it. Even if I tap it too hard like this, it's not making that noise. Then you know your tension is nice and right. And Mufasa wants to be in the video. Hey, little superstar.
To sit on your lap.
Yes. Okay. Okay, Mufasa, I need to see what I'm doing.
I think he's angry with you.
I also think he's angry at me.
Is Jared mean to you?
So if you still don't understand how the tension works, it does take practice. You need to crochet for a little while with the basic stitches so you can learn how to control your tension. So you don't want it too far. You want it just the same length as your crochet hook. So you can see my crochet hook and touch my finger. That's where you want it. And you can see with the metal crochet hooks, they've got that little flat indentation. That's where the loop needs to be. And you can see the indentation where it says the size. That's where you want your loop to be. And then the next question I was asked in my previous video is how you hold your crochet hook. So your crochet hook is going to go into your dominant hand. So my dominant hand is my right hand. So I'm going to hold my crochet hook in my right hand. And where you want to hold it, you want to hold it like this. So you can see I'm holding it just where that circle indentation is, where it's at the end. I'm holding it there because it gives you nice movement with your crochet hook. And then you want to just wrap the rest of your fingers around your crochet hook. You want a loose grip, you don't want to grab it like too tight so you can't move around easily. You want a nice loose grip. And you can even hold on the circle thing because it does help when you are turning your hook, when you go up and down. So we're going to tighten our slip knot on. We're going to hold our wool. Remember, thumb and middle finger where you hold your little tail. Then to chain on, we're going to chain on 22 plus 2. We're going to take our hook underneath the working yarn. Then we're going to turn the hook around so the hook bit is at the bottom. So you can see I went underneath, I grabbed it, then I turned the hook around. So now the hook is at the bottom. Then you just pull this working yarn through your slip knot. And we're going to do that 22 times. So you're going to get your hook, go underneath the wool, turn your hook, so the hook now is at the bottom, it's facing my fingers. Then you're going to just pull through. Oh wait. And you're going to just pull through. And you're going to just keep doing that motion. You don't want these loops to be too tight, so you aren't pulling this working yarn so it tightens your chain. And when your chain gets too long, just move your fingers and move them up. If you're struggling to go through your loops, it means your tension is too tight. And if it's very loose, then you won't be able to grab the wool. So let me do a very loose. So where my finger is, 2 chains. You can see the first chain, this little V there, it's nice and neat. You can see the second chain, this one, the last one, how chunky it is, how big the loops are. So if I turn it around, you can see how big that loop is. That means your chain is too loose. So you want all of your chains to look the same. So you can see all the V's, all the little chains. Then if you get too tight, you can't see the chain properly. It looks like a little knot. So we're going to carry on chaining until we get to 22 plus 2. So we're chaining on 24 for this square. If you hold your chain, you can see two sides of your chain. You can see one where it almost looks like a plait. So it looks like a little plait. A little braid in your hair where it shows little V's. And then if you turn that around, you're going to see loops. So you're going to see 3 loops, top loop, bottom loop, and a front loop. So when we insert our hook into this chain, every little V there, so you see the small little V's, we are inserting our hook into that V. You've got your top loop, middle loop, and bottom loop. What we want to do when we're on the V side is we want to grab the top loop, so the top V, and the middle loop. So there's 2. So you'll see now I've got 2 loops, and then one side of my crochet hook, there's 1 loop. On the other side of my crochet hook, there's the V. Do you see the V? So I'm going into that V. So the next step we're going to do, so we've chained on our 24 stitches. We're going to count 2 chains. We go into the second V. We're going to grab our wool through that V. So if you're struggling to grab your wool through that V, your tension's too tight. And then you're going to take your wool, turn your hook down, and you're going to pull through both loops. So now we have 1 loop on our hook. Then we're going to go into the next V. So the next V is the V that's right next to the one we've just done. So we're going to go into our next V. We're going to grab our wool. We're going to go through both the loops. Then we're going to go into our next V. Grab the wool. Go through both loops. I just want to show you a different angle, just in case you don't understand the one from the angle I've been doing it. So we can see where our single crochet is in, right? So we're going to go into the V right next to it. So you can see the V right next to it. I'm going in there. I'm going to grab my wool through, and I'm going to put it through both loops. So you're literally going into the V, and then we're going to grab our wool and then go through 2 loops. Then we're going to go into the V, grab the wool, into the 2 loops. And if you like this video so far, please remember to leave a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So I do always say, when you do your first row, work slowly and carefully, because your first row is going to set your tension. It's going to set how, it's the basis of your work. So don't do your first row quickly, and always do it nice and slowly. If you've made a mistake, just take that stitch out and start that stitch again. So now we have 1 more stitch to go in, 1 more V, and that V is the one that's right by the slip knot. So you're literally putting your hook just where that slip knot is. You're going to see there's a place for you to put your hook, and we're just going to insert it. We're going to insert it, grab our yarn through the V. So now we have 2 loops on our hook, and pull through 2 loops. And that's our first row. And what we do from here is we're going to chain on 2, so 1, 2, and flip our work. And flip our work. So now you're going to be holding on to your work from now on. Then when we start our next row, so we've chained on 2, this chain on 2 is seen as a stitch. So don't go into this first hole. So you see there's a first hole there. Don't go into that first hole because we've already chained on 2. We're going to go into the second hole. So we're going to go into that second hole, and then look on your loop. So it's also constructed of little V's, this row. And we want to go and we want to grab both of these. So you see there's those 2 loops plus a normal loop. We want to have 2 loops because we want to create a lined pattern. So now we've gone into that little hole, and the V now is on our hook. Then we're going to grab through the hole, go through 2 loops. Then we're doing our next stitch. The next stitch is the next V, the next hole, right next to the one we've just done. We're going to go through the hole, out, and go through 2. So I'll meet you back when we have 2 more single crochets to do. So we can see now, it may look like we only have 2 more stitches to do, but we actually have 3. So we're going to do our 1. Now it looks like we only have 1 left to do, because you can only see 1 little hole there. If you just put it a little bit, you can see only 1 hole, but we have 2 left to do. So we're going to go into it and take out. I'm going to go through the loops. So you can see, even though we've gone through all the holes, it still looks like it's incomplete because there's an arch at the end. So there's our hole and an arch. Then there's a loop that's on that arch. We're going to put our hook into that loop, and it might be a bit tough because it is the cast on 2 from our first row, and the first row is always the most difficult row. So you might have to push it in just a little bit. So we're going to push our hook into that loop over there. If you see towards the end of the work there's a loop, we're going to push our hook into that loop, like so. Then we're going to just grab our yarn through and go through 2 loops. And now we can see it looks complete. So we're going to start our 3rd row. So chain on 2, 1, 2. Remember, don't go into this first hole. Don't go into the first hole because we've got our chain 2, which is seen as a single crochet. We're going to go to the hole next to it. So we're going to go in, grab, pull. So we're going to go a bit quicker this round because we've already done 2 rounds, and I will meet you back towards the end so I can show you the last stitch, because that last stitch can be tricky, because if you miss that last stitch, every row you do, you're going to drop a stitch, and then eventually you're going to turn out with a triangle, which you don't want, because you want to do a square. Okay, so we have 3 more stitches to do. You can see we got 1 hole over there, 2 holes, and then our last stitch. So let's do the 2 stitches where we see the holes. So 1, 2, and you can see it isn't straight at the end. It makes a little divot. We need to go into that chain. So there's the stitch we've done over there, and the small hole that we need to still go into towards the end. This is going to be the small hole that we always have to go towards the end of every row. We're going to push our hook through it, grab the yarn through, and go through 2. And now we've completed the row. So from here, you're going to chain on 2, flip your work, and continue going. The width of our square is 6. The width of our square is 6 inches or 15.5 centimeters. So you want to continue making your rows until you get a height of 6 inches or 15.5 centimeters. I'll meet you back once we have reached that point.
What would you name your boat if you had one?
My boat. Let's say the Lunar Voyage, because that's like the moon boat. Lunar Voyage.
What's the closest thing to real magic?
Crocheting and knitting. Probably science, because you can do quite a few things with science, or maybe even programming, because you can do, it seems magical, the things that some IT stuff and programmers can do with programming, like the facial recognition, your thumbprint and fingerprint recognition, iris recognition, what some softwares can do, probably games as well, hey? That's my answer. The closest thing to magic for me is games. Is computer and PlayStation games, because you just wonder, how do those people make that and design all of those?
And you can actually have magic.
And you can actually have magic in those games. So that's the closest thing to magic for me is games.
Who is the messiest person you know?
Probably my brother. My twin brother. I think he's the messiest person I know. He doesn't really like cleaning, and he doesn't mind leaving a mess. But he is quite messy. Growing up with him, yeah, he's very, very messy.
Do you think he's more messy than my brother?
No, actually, Giancu's brother is the messiest person I know.
Sorry, Marco.
Yeah, sorry, Saro.
What will finally break the internet?
Probably another picture of Kim Kardashian's mum. I think they're actually the only people in this whole world, the Kardashians, who can break the internet.
What's the most useless talent you have?
Probably playing games. Because I'm good at playing games.
Why is it useless?
Because you can't make a career out of it. Well, I can't make a career. I think in a different country you can make a career. But in South Africa you can't make a career out of playing games. You can't even make a career out of making games. So if you study game development in South Africa, it's like, not to be mean, there is no company here in this country that make games, and it's very difficult to start a company like that because I don't think our country's on that level.
What celebrity would you rate as perfect 10?
Angelina Jolie. Oh, I love her. Tomb Raider. She made Tomb Raider. And then she was in that one, what's that one movie with the guns, when they were like shoot the guns like this?
Wanted, I think.
No. Is it
Yes,
Wanted?
where it's like slow motion and...
Yeah, they could like bend their bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie, for me, I love her.
What is a body part that you wouldn't mind losing?
Probably my toes. That's a body part, or is it like a leg? Probably my toes, because I use all my hearing. Well, that's not a body part actually, but yeah.
Yes, it's a body part.
Yes, but I wouldn't want to like chop my ears off. But probably my toes, because I wouldn't want to lose my arms, eyes, or hands, because I use it for my career and I do a lot of things that involve my eyes and my hands. So knitting, crocheting, programming, sewing, a lot of my hobbies and my livelihood is my hands, and I need to be able to see to do all of that stuff. So I wouldn't want to lose my hands and eyes, but I don't think I would mind obviously if I lost any body part, but if I had to lose one, it would probably be my feet or my legs or something like that.
What is the dumbest way you've been injured?
My brother, actually, when we were very, very young, he wanted to play a joke and he took one of those crafting knife blades and he thought he turned it around to the blunt side and he came up behind me and he cut my arm. And he actually, so I don't know if you can see the scar. Yeah, so it's quite a big scar and it's quite wide. Yeah, so what he did was he came up behind me and he cut my arm because he thought it was the other way around and he wanted to play a joke, and it's just like my skin just split. It wasn't sore, but I think that was because of the shock. Because as soon as I saw this, like, what do you do? And then I quickly put stuff on it so it didn't bleed. Yeah, and then he got a fright and he flushed the blade down the toilet.
What is the best and worst purchases you've ever made?
I think probably the worst and best purchases, so it's a combination, so it is both the worst and the best, is probably cigarettes. Because I do smoke, so you waste your money and it's not healthy for you, but also you also kind of think that it's also the best. So like you're wasting your money, but you're also putting that addiction. Don't smoke, it's bad for you.
If you could know the absolute and total truth to one question, what question would you ask?
My thing, if I could know the absolute truth and get the direct answer, would be, is there a higher power? Because I feel if you know that there's a higher power, so if you can answer that question and it gets answered not by like preachers or spiritualists or people who believe in a certain type of religion, not by them saying no, but it is true, like there's the Bible and there's the Quran and there's those religious books and texts and stuff, but like if actually the higher power, whoever the higher power is, came and physically showed himself or herself or itself to me and said like, hey, I'm the higher power.
Would you believe them?
Well, yeah, if like a ball of light came from the sky and...
What if it's something, what if someone just walks in and says, hi, I'm the higher power? Because that's the only form you can see, maybe.
Well, no, then you
Would
say
you believe that?
no. You would say prove it, because your answers would. So obviously, if I could get the answer for it, I'd say prove it, and then that I have to do something to prove it to me. Because I think once that answer or that question gets answered, I think all questions can be answered. Like, what's the meaning of life? To get to a higher purpose, or what's my goal in life, or what do I need to do is to help people also. I don't know. I just think it will all get answered. So I think mine is, it's religion.
What is the most ridiculous thing you tricked someone into doing? What comes to my mind is that time you gave me berry icicles to eat.
Oh yeah, so my brother has a fish tank at his house, and they feed as a treat to the fish, because they had some Siamese fight, and they had a little bit of like those, I think all fish are carnivorous, but he had, it's like these little ice blocks that is a mixture of those bloodworms and mosquitoes, you know, crushed up insects and stuff that you get from the bait shop, and they give that to the fish sometimes. So I say to Young, it is a mixed berry. So you know where you, like, if you mix juice and stuff and you put it in the fridge, it had that same colour. So I said it's a mixed berry icicle. You put it in your water and the flavours your water. So I said taste it. So he tasted it.
It just shows how much I trust you. Eh?
Yes. So that was
I shouldn't.
Hi guys, welcome back. Once you've gotten to the desired height that we want, that's with the lens. So if you don't have a measuring tape, another way you can measure it again is you always just fold it in half. So my loop is open. Then you're going to just grab that working yarn that we snipped off, and you're going to just put it through the loop and give it a small tug. And now we've closed off. So now we have our square. And then the last thing we want to do is weave in the ends. So we're going to get our needle, and remember, whenever you weave in, you go in 3 different directions. Yeah, so from out to in, down, from up to down, and then from in to out. So I'll weave in with you, but a more detailed weaving in would be in my garter stitch video, and for crocheting it will be in my double crochet video, and I'll leave those links in the description below. So when we weave in, we have our darning needle. Then we're going to just go up and down. We're going to grab stitches, so we don't ever just go straight through. We're going to look for a stitch at the bottom. We're going to go under it, then the next stitch over it, under it, over it, under it, over it, under it, over it. So you can see how I've gone under and over stitches. Then we're going to just pull the work through. Give it a bit of a tug, okay? Then we are going to go from the bottom to the top. Let me just flatten this so you can see it. We're going to go under, over, under. So now I've gone from the top to the bottom, and I'm going to go from the outside inwards. And then we pull it through. Then we give our wool a bit of a stretch to where we weaved in, just so we make sure everything is nice and spread out and even. And then if you have little bits left, so you can see I've got this little tail left, just give it a little bit of a tug out, tiny bit tug out, and just snip it off, and then just move your wool around. So now you can see where I weaved in at the bottom over there. You can't see it, it's nice and hidden, and now your work won't unravel. So let's do the last remaining thread very quickly. So once we've weaved in, this is how your square should look. It's a nice size, and you don't see where we weaved in by. Remember, if your square is a bit wonky, if it's a tiny bit small or a tiny bit bigger, we can fix that with blocking, which I'll show you once we start combining our squares together. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. So please like this video, subscribe if you want to continue watching the series, and please share the video with anybody who you think would be interested to learn how to knit and crochet. I am also going to do sewing and needlework videos, but that will be in the future. And so like and subscribe, and remember to share. And if you have any work that you have done that you want me to see or help you with, you can post it on Instagram and use hashtag craftwithjared, or you can go onto my Instagram page at craftwithjared. Yeah, I'll help you there as well. And I'd really like to see the work you have done. So if you've done any of the squares or the tutorials that I've done, please post it on Instagram and put the hashtag craftwithjared. And I will see you later. Happy knitting and crocheting. Bye.